And as some of you might already know, my name is Jen Mccallum with Lower Trent Conservation, and I am coordinating this year's Virtual Water Festival. If you are a teacher, you likely heard from me by email this week and possibly last week as well. And so I'd really like to welcome everyone to join us. I'm going to also respectfully acknowledge that the Tri-County Children's Water Festival for the counties of Hastings, Northumberland, and Prince Edward is on the traditional territory of the Wendake, Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee First Nations. They are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and they maintain this responsibility to protect the health of people, plants, and animals for generations to come. The Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte and Alderville First Nation are our closest Indigenous communities. As part of this land acknowledgement, we must commit to reconciliation, which means restoring relationships between settlers to Turtle Island, or North America, and the Indigenous people who have been here for much longer. Part of reconciliation also means restoring healthy human relationships with the lands, waters, and other beings who surround us in our community. So we are very grateful that we have Logan and Danka here today. Before I present them, I would like to just share my screen. And I'm going to run through a few logistics for our festival. There we go. So we are here May 12th to talk about water attitudes. And if you registered for this Zoom webinar, it means that you are already registered for the remaining webinars that we have the following or the coming weeks. You are not able to use your camera and audio if you are a participant, so you've probably already noticed that. You may notice that some of our sessions are going to be recorded, which this one is, and some of our sessions are not. Last week's was not recorded. So we will be storing the recording on our website, and we'll be sharing that out through social media as well. So if you are participating, you may ask questions using the chat box, and we are going to try to keep on top of that as we go. And both Logan and Danka have given permission to be interrupted if there is a question that is immediately relevant. If not, then we will ask the questions at the end. I'd also like to remind our teachers and your students that we do have some fantastic water education resources available on the Lower Trent Conservation website, which are at this link at the top. So if you click on the Water Attitudes online learning resources, you will see something like this, which talks about what water attitudes means. It advertises our live virtual events, and then there are all kinds of activities that you can take part in with your class, including the watermark project on the first page, but there are also quizzes and discussion questions for you to access. So that is available to you. We have put it as a May 12th date, but of course you can use these resources whenever it suits your classroom needs. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Logan Maracle and Danka Brewer. Logan is from the Turtle Clan of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, and Danka is Algonquin. And without further ado, I will pass this on to them and stop sharing my screen.
Go ahead, Logan.
Okay. Sewa Guego, Watpunum Horado, Lago Nigoraksani Yungats, Dano Logan Nejo Hansa, Miracle de Waxanazide, Ganyunge Haga Niwagmanjoda, at Norda Niwagidaroda, Gandege Niduagano. Hi everyone. My name is, my Ganyungeha name is Lago Nigoraksani, which translates to he or the one who has a strong mind. I am Ganyungehaga or Mohawk and Turtle Clan, as Jen said, from Gondege Mohawk territory, or more commonly known as Tynanega. I'm excited to be here today to share some creation stories and other teachings and a little song with you all. Now.
Kwe. Makwa Wabshikwe, indigenous, Makwa Dodam, Shabata Bajawa no Nikiu no Kono Don Jaba, Tichbrin on the Yom, and Noki Jabawin. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Sorry, it's afternoon now. What I said in my traditional language, in my traditional greeting, is that I am called White Bear Woman. I am a member of the Bear Clan. I reside in the traditional ancestral unceded lands of the Shabata First Nation. And I live in Titchburn, which is 16 kilometers south of Charlotte Lake. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. I'm excited to share. I have been a fixture at the Tri-County Water Festival for years. I normally do the water blessings and come in from wherever I am to spend the 2 days there with all the students. So I'm really excited that we were able to do it this year. I'm here to share some traditional perspectives on being the protector of the water as being a female, and to share some songs with you today. And that's my introduction. So what I'd like to share with you right away, if it's possible, is I would like to share what we call the water song. It's the Algonquin water song. It's Nibi Wabo. Normally, when we perform this, we don't use drums and we don't use rattles. We use two sticks. And normally these are sticks that have fallen from the trees. We don't go and cut trees down or cut branches off the tree because the tree has an important job in itself. And it provides us the oxygen we need to be here. So we don't want to make it work hard or damage it in any way because we really need that oxygen. And what I'd like to do with you is I found a little clip of my friends and Grandfather Commanda and the Circle of All Nations. They have a clip on YouTube that you can source sometime if you would like, that I'd like to play for you. It goes over the water song and it has the words. And after we've watched that, I'm happy to share that song with you. And then we can get into a little bit more of the teachings from my culture around that. Okay, so just 1 second, and I'm going to see if I can manage to share my screen. Okay, so that was not what I wanted to share. 1 second. This is the words to the song. These are phonetic, but I'm going to see, for whatever reason, it's not letting me do it. So, sorry guys, I'm just learning. Here we go. Can you see that? Do you have the Algonquin water song with YouTube on there? Thank you, Logan. So, yes, somebody was going to talk?
Yes, you are showing your screen there, Danka. Sorry.
Okay, good. So this is the Algonquin water song, and it has some teachings in it. And I just thought it would be a nice way to present it to you. So here we go. Can you hear the water?
The water can hear you. The water has memory. Nibi, Nibi, Wabo, Wabo, Endayan, Endayan. Nibi, Wabo, Endayan, Aki Misli, Nibi, Wabo, Heya, 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 Water is the life's blood of our mother, the earth. Water is the lifeblood of our own body. Nibi To continue to pass on the knowledge that needs to be given unto the other generations. You are the keeper of the water. To make the change in this life condition that we're in, that great-grandchildren will stand up to this truth of what life is about, and to live it in such an honorable way, the way ancestors came to this earth. Each day when the sun rises, no matter how bad the day before might have been, there's a new chance for your hopes and dreams. And I say, Chimigwech, thank you for singing the water song.
So that song there was gifted to us. Oh, that song there was gifted to us by the Commandas and the White Ducks and the Wawate community, our families from Kitagan-Zibi. And the reason for that is that when we are when we're doing things on Mother Earth, whether it's in our own backyard or in our community or in our school environment, we have to remember that water has no barriers. Water is constantly moving, is constantly changing. It changes from a liquid to a solid to a gas state continuously. And so just remember, if you're thinking about the Grand Canyon, that Grand Canyon was created by water. Water eroded and eroded the earth and made that canyon over thousands and thousands of years. Okay. And that's true for us now more so than what we like to think about commonly. We think about water as what we get out of our tap or we buy at the store. But water is a life essential. We are all made up of water, and it's important that we keep our waters clean. Canada has the largest percentage of fresh water that we need in order to sustain life. And if we don't look after it, we don't look at accepting our responsibilities along with the rights of having that water, then our world is going to be in a bad way, and life is not going to continue in such a good way as it is now. When I go to schools and talk about water and being a caretaker of water and a protector of the water, I always ask what they can do to help cleanse the water of the world. And a lot of students say, oh my goodness, that's too big of a concept for us. But if you look after the water in your own backyard, you are actually improving the water from around the world. When it rains, the rain that comes, or the water that comes down out of the sky from those clouds is not water that's been collected here. That's water that's been collected all around the world. And so when we're talking about protecting the water and doing things for the water, whatever you do in your own backyard or your own environment actually improves the water around the world. And so when we take garbage out of it, when we protect it from pollutants getting into it, when we make sure that that people aren't throwing junk in the water or dumping oil in the water, when we're not taking aquatic plants out of the water that need to be there, those aquatic plants like the wild rice and the cattails and that, they actually filter toxins out of the water, and they clean the water for us, so it's still good enough for us to be able to consume it. So when we're talking about the water and we're talking about singing the song, what you do near the water and what you say to the water has memory, and how you treat the water affects the water itself. I actually got to participate in a study where they took water, and one group of people in a room with water in one area said all these bad words and was negative with it and put cigarette butts in it and tobacco and all that stuff. And then somebody else in another room were thanking the water and telling that it was beautiful and singing to the water and treating it with respect. And when they froze samples of both of those water and put it under the microscope, you could tell the difference in the water itself. The water reacted differently to both of those environments. And so then what they did for the second part of the test was they took the water that they had all this negative energy with and brought it to the other room and started doing the same thing with it, singing its praises, thanking it for being the water that we need to survive, taking all the junk out of the water that they had put in it. And the water changed and developed. And when they froze that, it actually mirrored the same results that I had the first time from the water that had all the praises and sung to it. So water does react to how you treat it and how you look after it. And it's really important that we as women speak up and protect the water, because in my culture, women were the last ones to create life. And when we create life, we protect that life and we carry that new life within us for those 42 weeks in water that we carry within ourselves. And so when that water breaks and comes forward, it heralds a new life coming into the world. And so because we are water carriers ourselves when we're creating new life, we have that responsibility to look after the waters of the lifeblood of Mother Earth. And so showing respect to the water, I have water that's around me all the time. I live in the land of lakes. So when I stop and I go to the shore, I take some tobacco and give my thanks to the water for everything it provides us, for the life force that it gives us, for nurturing us, providing us with the medicines, being there to help clean us and to clean those that we care about, to bring medicine to us, because we use water when we make our medicines are normally in forms of tea that we would boil or steep in warm water, and that's how we were taught to take our first medicines. When we look after that water and we nurture that water, then we would get healthier ourselves. So if you do something, even in your own backyard, about cleaning up the water immediately around you, you are actually improving the situation and the condition of the water all around the world. And it doesn't have to be something humongous. It doesn't have to have thousands of dollars thrown at it. Even just taking cigarette butts and Tim Horton cups and McDonald wrappers and any other garbage that somebody might have thrown in the waterway or you've seen along the shore, and taking that out of there, that's improving the water condition all around the world. And it's important because without water, we can't survive. It's what keeps us alive. And it keeps us alive, it keeps the trees alive, it keeps Mother Earth alive, it keeps the animals alive that are around there to support us and look after us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my display arm so that you have the words in front of you. And then I would like you all to try to help and sing the water song. Now, traditionally, if you listen to the recording that I played, it said the women are the protectors of the water, but we never do anything alone. We have partners, life mates. We have the other half of us. So we're female, we have the male. And so because of the condition of the water and the way that life is evolving right now, we have extended a request to have the men join us in singing the song and helping to look after the water. So when we're singing the song, we're going to use 2 sticks. And again, I'm going to stress that we don't want sticks cut from trees. We want them picked up off the ground, or it can be dowling or something that you bought from the hardware store. We don't want to damage anything that's alive. And you'd use 2 sticks and you tap them in the rhythm that you heard there. And we sing this song 4 times, 1 for each direction. And that is an Anishinaabe cultural thing, because when we're singing, we want to sing to all of the ancestors. So if we sing to our ancestors in each one of those directions, it doesn't matter what direction our ancestors are coming from, they are all going to be welcome. They're all going to hear the song sung. If we're doing this in ceremony, if we're doing a water ceremony, that we actually sing our song 7 times, so that goes to each of the directions. So there's 7 sacred directions. The 7 sacred directions are in front of us. That's where our next generation is coming from, are going to be. Behind us, that's where our ancestors are. To our left and to our right, where our brothers and sisters, our aunties and uncles are. Above us, to the spirits in the sky, the creator, and our flying ones, and below us to Mother Earth. And that includes all of creation. So the plants, the animals, the standing ones, the swimming ones, the crawling ones, the 4-legged, the 2-legged, and the creepy crawlers. But also the 7th direction is within ourselves, because we're also singing it to the creator, because he was the one that made everything and made it possible for us to be here today. So that is when we're doing the ceremony. But we're going to do it today with just the 4 directions, because I don't want to take up all the time. Logan wants to share too, and I want him to share with us. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it on. Here we go. I'm going to go back to share my screen. And we're going to go here. Can everybody see that okay? I can zoom in a little bit if you can't see it. Is it good? All right, good. All right. So when we sing our song, this is phonetically, by the way. So this is how we want to sound the syllables out. So it's going to be, where's my pointer? Lost my pointer. Okay, so it's going to go ni. So when we have 2 vowels, it's a long vowel sound. If we have 1 vowel, it's a short vowel sound, okay? So it's going to go ni bi wabo and I am aki misque ni bi wabo. And that is our song. And then we have vocables. Vocables are sounds that any human being can make with their throat. And this helps when you're going to a community that you haven't been to before and you don't know the language, but you want to participate in the singing or the celebration that they're doing. Then anybody can join in and do the chorus. So it goes, hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 and we always, like I said before, we're going to sing this. It's going to be times 4. So 1 for each direction. So this is our song, and we sing it 4 times, okay? So Nibi Wabo is water. And Endayan is my home. Aki Misque, Nibi Wabo means is the lifeblood. of Mother Earth. So when we're singing this, Aki is Mother Earth. Misque means red waters in the body. Okay, so that's the lifeblood of Mother Earth. Just so that you understand what you're singing, because we don't want you to think you're singing something and not understand what you're saying. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah oh. Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah ho. Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah ho. Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah ho. Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah ho. Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah ho. So let's just do it one last time with everybody. Nibi wabo andaya aki misque nibi wabo. Hey ah hey ah hey ah hey hey ah hey ah hey ah ho. Shimigwech. So I could see some of you singing out there, and that was great. Logan, you did an awesome job. So I'm going to switch it over to Logan now, and he can share some perspective with you as well. And I'm going to put my mic on as soon as I find where the button is. There we go. Okay, over to you, Logan.
Nyawadenka, that was awesome. I love singing. And learning that song I loved it. I loved singing along. So I'm going to start with my teachings now. And the way I'm going to start sharing a story from creation, because that's how I was taught. We always have to look to first. In our creation story, water is considered our oldest relative because it was here at the beginning of time. And in the earth, it was there was nothing but water here when Yoji Jazon, Jijuzon, who is the name of the sky woman. When she fell down from Garunhyage, Garunhyage meaning the place in the sky, she fell through the hole, and when she's falling through, she falls into this great darkness. And we call this great darkness Osundowet Goa. And this darkness, it translates to many like negative feelings within our lives. Things, if we're supposed to represent things like depression, loneliness, all of that. They say every person has their own darkness inside them. And it's up to us to take care of ourselves, take care of our waters, as some might consider in their teachings. And as Danka was saying, as Danka was sharing her teachings, I was like, yeah, I remember learning about this. It being talked about in the Haudenosaunee worldview too. So we must think if the sky woman went through this sort of stuff at the beginning of time, then maybe we're not alone in how we're feeling it, how we feel this way. And it's about expecting that that darkness is there for a reason. And then we have to work through that. So as Yujijuzon is falling, she notices all the water down below. And this is a part of the story where they talk about reflection, the reflection in the water. So when you go about and maybe you're walking along the lake shore or any sort of body of water, you'll look into the water and you see all the trees and all of the other life that that we have here that you might see in there, and it represents both the duality of the natural world and the sky world, because everything that we have here in our physical world on our Mother Earth also exists in the spirit world. And from an environmental like activism perspective, when we think of think of the way the colonial state, Canada, big corporations are destroying the earth, we have to think about how can we entertain this if all of this life that we have here on earth also exists in the sky world. And we should make more efforts in our lives to defend all of life we hear, especially the water, because the goal of the Canadian economy, land devastation, water pollution, all of that is for the sake of the state to make money. And it's very, from my own perspective, is very anti-life. And we have to do our best to work to protect the water, protect the trees, protect all of life. As Danka said, water it gives life to all things that we have here on Earth. So there were some water birds that noticed Sky Woman falling, and they decided to help her land safely. And a great sea turtle emerged from the water and allowed the birds to place the woman on their back. And when she's on the back, what she says is "Nekne oh ne ga igo." Nekne oh ne ga igo. She's noticing all the water that's around her. And they say in our language different words. Gahne gorunyo, which means all the waters everywhere. And then there's Gahne gonoro, which means precious water. And I'm going to be singing a song in a little that uses these words to give commemoration to this part, to this creation story, and all the water that existed in the beginning of time, and to commemorate all the waters that continue to bring us life, give us life to this day. In our language, I'm a language learner. My friend calls me a language activist because of my passion towards learning the language. And it's just so beautiful when you hear some of the translations of our language, and it really gives you a sense of how the Haudenosaunee, what their attitudes were towards the water. And I really love when words relate to each other. That really helps me in my learning. So an example that has to do with the water, the way that we say, that we describe rain we say yoga noro, yoga noro. And that word directly relates to our word that when we express like I love you, which is gonorunkwa. And you might be able to hear the differences in the words, or the similarity in the words there. Yoga noro, gonorunkwa. It's that noro, that precious part that's in there. So what my teacher has taught me is that when we express love to somebody using the word gonorunkwa, what we're saying is you're as precious to me as the water is as precious to our mother the earth. And I think that's really beautiful. Yeah. And then something else that Yojiji-san, the Sky Woman, brought to this world. She brought the seeds of life, and she also brought human life because she was pregnant during the time when she was falling and she was on the turtle's back. I've heard a couple different perspectives on this. Some people say, like from science, they say, and we're like 70%, 75% water. But I've also learned that some Haudenosaunee identify themselves as being 100% water, because everything that our body is made up of water and needs water. Like water is essential to help every single part of our body function properly. And babies, we come from embryonic or the life waters that exist in our mother's wombs. In Western science, Western knowledge can't comprehend that power of our mother, of our mothers and our mother, the earth. But it's just some things that I don't know. I think we have to put more thought into indigenous ways of knowing, because these teachings are informed by the land, and we don't exist without the things that come from the land. We wouldn't exist without, and that ties to our original instructions and our Ohandagarwadekwa, which, as you might know, is the words before all else, and what many Haudenosaunee people will start the business with, start like different like conferences or different teachings with, to give thanks to every single part of creation. And we know that the world without humans, the earth would thrive and flourish. But if you took any other part of creation out of existence, then we wouldn't be able to survive. And from my perspective, I thought, well, because the creator created all this for humans, because he wanted to bring humans into the world, we should want to live here. We should want to live and recognize all the beauty that's in the life around here. And that goes back to attitudes towards the water, specifically what we're here for today. Because again, we all need water, and the water needs us to protect it. I learned from an Anishinaabe educator, Nancy Rowe, who lives in Brantford, I believe. I went to go visit her lodge when I was in grade 10 a few years back, and she gave a teaching on the water. It was similar to what Danko was sharing about, or it's essentially what Danko was saying, how keeping the waters inside ourselves healthy is really important. And it connects to that research study that they did, where they treated water, the difference between treating water and associating it with kind words and kind actions versus negative behaviors, negative words. And that delivers different results. And that's the same with the way that we're supposed to be treating each other. A word that we have in our language is deyetinu kwarunkwa, which roughly translates as like to continuously compliment. we're taught that we're supposed to always give compliments to not just each other, but to take my plants, for example. I have a garden right now. And I talk to my plants because they need that, because they need that, the vibration. They recognize the vibration of my voice, and they need that. And when I go out and sing to the water, my friend taught me that when we're singing to the water, we're not just singing to the water, we're both physically and spiritually cleansing the water because of that synchronicity with the vibrations of the water and the vibrations of our voice. And that's something that's really that might seem really small, but it goes a long way when it comes to like when it comes to answering the question of like, what part can I play? What's something that I can even do? What's a small action that I can even do to help our waters right now? You can sing to the water, you can talk to the water, because they need us to recognize that they are alive, and their life is important, because it is. We also have in our teachings prophecies in our creation stories, in our Ohandagardo that tell us that bad things will happen if we don't continuously give thanks to everything that we have. And part of that, when it comes to the water, is like what we're seeing now today. Like they say that there will be like the water will turn black, and that connects to like how we see major oil spills in the water nowadays. Today, they'll say that the water will become undrinkable because of the pollution and the toxicity that the water is being made today through water pollution from different like colonial organizations that are poisoning our waters. And like on many different reserves, they go without, they don't have clean drinking water, and they have to live without the vitality of drinking water. There's a balance as a people, and we'll always be balanced by the natural world. For the man and the woman, there are two things that balance us. A woman's balance will be the fire. The fire is the men's medicine, so she'll be balanced by that. And then simultaneously, I'm taught that men's balance is water. Yeah, that's a little bit of the teachings that I have here on the water. So I'm going to share this song with you. And like I said, we have Gahne. The words go, Yung guararunkwa oh nega, yung guararunkwa oh nega. Yung guararunkwa is meaning we all love the water. We all love, and then oh nega is water. We all love the water. Yung guararunkwa oh nega, and then Gahne garunyo. Gahne garunyo. And then Gahne ganoro. Gahne garunyo meaning all the waters everywhere, and Gahne ganoro meaning precious water. And then there's some vocables too in this song that act as the chorus. So I'm going to sing that for you guys right now. Yung warunkwa onega, yung warunkwa onega, Gahne garunyo, Gahne ganoro, Gahne no biyaheya, Yun warun kwa onega, yun warun kwa omega, gani garunyo, gani ganoro, gani no ya he ya. Yo ha yo ho we ya he, yo ha yo ho we ya he, gani garunyo, gani ganoro, gani no ya he ya. Yung warun kwa onega, yung warun kwa omega, gani garunyo, gani ganoro, gani no ya he ya. Yo ha yo ho we ya he, yo ha yo ho we ya he, gani garunyo, gani ganoro, gani no ya he ya. Yo ho. You know, for listening.
Thank you very much, Logan and Danka. Those were excellent songs. You couldn't see me because I was not on video, but I was singing along, and I hope that our attendees were as well. We have been having some very interesting questions coming through, and I am aware we're about 4 minutes out from our finishing time, so we don't have a lot of time, but we had some really interesting questions. Let me just choose one here. So Logan, I think you addressed this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Why is it mainly women doing the water ceremonies?
Well, it has to do with water being a woman's medicine. I would say I don't have too much knowledge on this, just because it's not really my teachings to share as somebody who is not a woman. But you know, water is the woman's medicine, and women bring life through the life waters that they carry. And they have moon ceremonies that really connect to that life that they bring. And it's really an important time for them at that time. And I don't want to share too much just because it's not my place to share those teachings.
Thanks so much, Logan. And you did mention that typically women are sort of responsible for the water, and men are more responsible for the fire traditionally. So those were sort of the roles that people have played and continue to play in indigenous teachings today. So thank you very much. There seemed to be a lot of interest in the songs. There were some questions about other types of songs. So we might just ask Logan and Danka to maybe send some more links, and I can email you for more information on that. There were some interesting questions about water. So one of them was, how does water stay in the oceans and not go through the sand?
Well, part of the teaching I have is that in our creation story, when the creator made the earth, he drew the 4 elements together. And so the sound of the rattle is actually the sound of the 4 elements coming and swirling together to form the earth. And so the 4 elements that we need in order to even have a ceremony is we must have water, earth, wind, and fire present. So when that all came together, it formed the earth. The earth surrounded the fire, and the earth separates the fire and the water so that the water doesn't put out the fire and the fire doesn't evaporate the water. And the air that circles around it helps to keep the not only the earth itself, Mother Earth, rotating, but it also helps to keep the water moving so that it's not constant, so that it can't dry up with the heat of the sun and so on. And when the earth became that barrier, everything we have in the world is made up of molecules. And so the molecules in the sand actually have a vibration to them that's on a different frequency than the water. So it helps the water from permeating into the sand. So it's the spiritual barrier between those two elements. And the spiritual barrier between the elements is actually what helps to keep our earth in the shape that it is. And the plants and the animals on the earth are not being flung off into space as we're rotating around. So we actually have 5 elements that we have. It's fire, earth, wind, and water, and spirit. And so that was part of creation. When the creator made the earth, part of his spirit stayed in that creation to keep those things all in balance. And so when we do our ceremony, like when I talk about a pipe ceremony, we have a pipe ceremony where we do prayers. And so the bowl of the pipe is made out of clay or stone, and it represents the female, but it's made by the male. And the stem, which represents the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom being the wood part of the stem, the animal kingdom being the lacing that holds it together or hangs the feathers or bones and that off the stem. That represents the gift from Mother Earth. And that is supposed to represent the male, or it is created by the female. So it's that balance again, like what Logan was saying. The women's balance is fire, the men's balance is water. When you put those two together, it's like the male and the female coming together in unison to create something. Then the fire is present when we light the kinnikinnick in the bowl, or the plant material in the bowl. And the air is present when we draw that smoke up through the stem in order to blow it out to carry the prayers. The one element that isn't in that ceremony at the moment is the prayers and the water. So the prayers are represented in the tobacco that we put in, but the water isn't present. We gift that water and we complete that ceremony by drawing that smoke into our mouth and then blowing it out. And we provide our own water and complete that ceremonial cycle so that all 5 of those elements are present. So when we're talking about native pipe ceremony, it's not like we're going out to have a cigarette and we're doing a ceremony. It's not the same thing at all, because we're not supposed to be inhaling that smoke into ourselves. We inhale, or we draw the breath. We don't inhale. We draw the breath into our mouth and then blow it out, because we're completing that ceremony by providing the water in our mouth to have all of those 5 elements together in order to complete the ceremony. So when we're talking about the barriers and why the water doesn't get in the sand, it's because of the vibrations of the molecules in the sand that keeps it separate. But it's also that spiritual role that the water has, and that has been given to him by creation when the creator made the earth.
Thank you very much, Danka. That's a very deep answer. I feel like the students might need some time to process all of that information, but I think that's absolutely wonderful sharing. We are now at 1:29, and I was getting the impression that some folks are maybe getting hungry and maybe a little antsy. So I think this is a good time for us to end. We do have some remaining questions, so maybe we can make an effort to respond to those by email with folks later. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you very much to Danka and Logan for your wonderful teachings. And I look forward to seeing our attendees next week, and have a great rest of your day.
Miigwech for allowing us to be here and share our knowledge with you.
Yeah, nhau Goa.
Thank you very much. So